Eureka. Our favorite.
Sponsors.
Eureka Weed.
What up, though?
Yeah.
Eureka Weed. Why do we love it?
Because it's full of surprises, but you're always going to get the highest quality.
Ooh, that's nice. That's tight.
That was tight.
Yeah, shout out Eureka for real though.
Like how you just put me on the spot to come up with a fucking slogan.
You killed it.
That was crazy,
It
bro.
was supreme. Supreme.
You're a madman, Pape.
I'm crazy, bro. I think I've learned that you perform well under pressure.
I do, man.
Yeah.
It's probably my best.
Yeah.
I used to turn all my homework in, do all my homework the day before it was due.
Yeah.
Could never, even if I had 2 weeks to do it, like it was always like, it's always better when it's fresh and pressure.
Yeah. So that was a perfect shout out and plug to our friends at Eureka.
What up, though? This is the Welcome to It podcast. I'm your boy, Lano, good brother Pape. We have a special guest here with us today. Before we skip our intro, we got the ever so talented businessman, Mr. Tony Mason.
Yeah, Tony Mason.
Thanks for having me.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for making time.
Yeah, happy to be here with you guys.
Fuck yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I'm hustling and shaking and moving and booking tons of shows and jumping to different cities and managing a lot of different things at once, but I'm doing.
How long you been in the game, Tony?
It's been about 15 years. I mean, it's been 15 years since I graduated college and got into it full time.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was a couple of years that I was like in college doing it independently, just trying to do my own thing and figure out what I was doing.
Yeah. Can you tell the people what it is that you do? What is it that you actually do?
So I am a concert booker and promoter, book and promote shows all over Colorado and even up into Wyoming, and manage a bunch of different calendars and execute a bunch of different concerts.
Yeah.
Yes. And you're a great advocate for artists.
Yes.
For sure.
I love artists.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I love working with them. I used to be one. I like working the business side of things, though, because I felt like that was a little bit more of my niche. Behind like trying to be an artist, it was a little difficult. And then once I got into the business of it, it was kind of like, all right, I think this is more my lane, is working for the artists.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's really dope that I don't know, is there a lot of people on the business side of things that were artists before, or is that a rarity?
It feels like a little bit of a rarity.
Yeah.
Most of the people that I know, they were like public relations majors in college, or they just randomly found their way into an internship into a venue. Yeah, I think it was.
That's tight. That's because then that explains a lot of like why you're so empathetic to artists, because you are one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I always found like when you were like when I'm doing videos for people, if they know how to edit, it's always a more enjoyable exchange because we're like talking a similar language.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And you like know similar pain points that artists probably preemptively are feeling.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. What's one of those biggest pain points that you remember from being an artist and then that you still see artists, dealing with?
What? Say that again.
What's one of the biggest pain points that you remember from your artistry that was like, you know what?
Pain part was probably when I kind of flipped and stopped being a musician and got more into the business side of it. I just felt like I couldn't improve that much as a musician. I felt like I was getting really bored practicing. I felt like I fizzled up this artistic drive in myself, and then it got to a point where it just kind of capped off and it stopped. I don't know. It just kind of wasn't really working for me anymore. And that was kind of like the pain point, was being like, damn, maybe like I'm not going to be a musician. When I moved down to Denver from up in the mountains, I was 21 years old, and I moved down here with the ambition of like being a rock star and being a singer. And that was kind of my thing, was I wanted to make music and be a singer.
Yeah.
And after I pursued that down here for 3 or 4 years, and it just kind of got to a point where it was like, I don't know if this is going to work for me. And that was kind of the painful point. But then there was the flip side of like, all right, but like I really want to work with musicians and try to find ways to elevate musicians and bring these people up and give them platforms. And so, that worked out for me.
Yeah, man. That's dope.
That's cool to be like self-aware enough that you're like, because you see so many encouraging words online of like, you can do it and like follow your dreams. And it's like, you can't. sometimes there's people that just can't do it. It just doesn't. It's not for you.
I'm a very realistic person. For sure. And when I was in college, it was like those first few years of being in college, coming from a small town down to the big city and just going like in college with the music thing, it was just kind of like I was just doing it with everybody else, all my friends. But then once I like got to a real, because I started at Red Rocks Community College. Then when I got to a real university, and I started having these music courses with kids that were just like doing it as like they were studying something completely different, but they were just taking the music course as an elective or a side thing. And they were so much better than me without even trying. And I'm like, damn, this is like what I'm studying and trying to do. And you come in here not giving a shit and you do it way better
I'm just
than
here
me
because
with
it's
no
an easy
effort.
grade.
Yeah.
This is my life.
Like it just felt like I was trying extremely hard to get good when there were other people around me that were like so amazing. And it was like they had that natural gift that they were just like really good. And I felt like I had to really push and try for it.
I mean, I definitely applaud you, man, because I think sometimes in life it's hard for people to pivot, right? When something's not working out, but you want it to, and it's whatever the ties you may have had to it for so long, to then it's like breaking up with somebody, I would assume. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, don't break up with me. Yeah. We can make this work. You're like, nah, it's actually not working. Right. I got to be the one to say goodbye. So I take my hat off to you, man, because I just know that as an artist, like, there has to be a space where it's like, okay, or in anything you're doing, I'm just like, all right, what's really happening here? Am I reaching to this space that I want to be in? Or even, will I even be able to achieve that space I want to, right? So, like Pape said, to that self-awareness, man, like, I think that's just big in life on the journey, absolutely. To just be self-aware of like, all right, maybe this ain't working for me, baby. But it's something that will work for you. You know what I'm saying? I think that's dope that you were able to find something still within that, you know what I'm saying, in that
switching
realm.
Over from performance to music business was a very exciting thing because it was so broad and I had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't know if I was going to go into like artist management or start like a ticketing company or a record label or do concert booking and promo. And I had so many different ideas. And so that kind of like made it more fun, was just having this endless opportunities of what do I even want to do in music business? There's so many different outlets and avenues that I could work in.
Yeah, man.
How did you land on doing promotion? Because
it really just happened very naturally, for sure. I mean, it was kind of like I put down the guitar and the keyboard and the microphone and stopped performing, and then I just started reaching out to these venues and saying like, hey, let me get a night and bring in a show to you, and then I just book all of my friends in on a show. At that time, it was like a lot of songwriter showcases and just solo guitarists and vocalists and pianists and stuff like that. And it just kind of all came together very naturally when I was in school, and just the way I was working with artists and finding places for them to play. And then even there was one point where I just transferred my degree from performance to business, but I still had to take some music performance classes. And I really didn't want to take this percussion class because drumming was like the worst of them for me. Like I could get by on some piano, some guitar, some singing and songwriting, but drums and percussion was like the absolute most difficult for me. And I had just transferred out of performance, so I had zero ambition to even want to learn. And my teacher was like, all right, this is what we're going to have you do. We're going to have you put together like a marketing plan and a flyer, and you're going to book and put together like the final performance for the class.
Sick.
And so he kind of let me like drop the musician part and go with my music business thing that I was really going for now.
That's tight.
And I did exactly what I said I was going to do. Is I found a space for us to put it, and I had a friend of mine put together a flyer, and I promoted it all over, and I kind of like coordinated all of it. And again, this is all kind of very just naturally happening in school.
Right.
But it's kind of cool to see how that just transitioned straight into my career from there.
Wow.
Totally. Yeah. When we met, we were both finishing school, right? Or were you already done?
I think what was it? Because I graduated in 2010, and I feel like it was 10 or 11 that we had met.
Yeah.
Right around there.
Yeah.
Well, it might have been 2009 or 10. It had to have been because it was before I was at Herman's Hideaway.
Rockstar Lounge.
Yeah, I was still doing Tone Dynamics and booking like all over, including at Rockstar Lounge.
Yeah.
That's funny. Before I came down here tonight, I went through my old stack of posters and tried to find the poster from that night because I swear I had a copy of it. And I was going to bring it down with me to give to you. But I couldn't find it. And then I was like, maybe it's just on Facebook, and I remember seeing it on there.
Yeah. I mean,
it's iconic.
Man, the organicness of that, right? Like, that's pretty wild, man. Like, for you to just kind of just stumble into it and then transition from that stumble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then now you've been able to be successful in what you've been doing for a long time now. So that's amazing, man.
Definitely has a lot to do with just sticking with it, you know? Like once you find what it is that you want to do, to just stick with it and push through you know, the good times, the bad times, the hard times, but if you just kind of stick with it is something I've for sure learned will help you just go a long ways.
Yeah. Go ahead, babe.
I was just thinking, it's like, that's true when you find the thing that you're like, this is what I'm called to do, or this is like my mission here. Cause it's like, you could have stuck with it being a musician, and who knows where that, you know, like
Right.
you wouldn't be as fulfilled or, you know, like, but now you let that go. We're being open to whatever the universe had to offer. And then it kind of like built that little road for you. It's kind of tight.
Yeah.
That's kind of trippy. What were you saying?
When would you ever, or do you ever think about like what's next for Tony? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, especially right now in this current period of my life where I've kind of been doing what I've been doing for a while. I'm getting a little bit older and I got to think about my future a little bit more. Because for sure, like through my 20s and even my early 30s, it was just kind of like, just work, get it done, do it. Now it's kind of like, all right, I've put in the work, I've put in the time. Where is this going to lead me? Where am I going with this? Because I've got to find a pathway to lead me to a good future, you know? I think in my 20s and early 30s, you don't really think about that as much. It's kind of more just like do the work.
they just grinding.
Yeah,
Right.
just grinding and get it done. But then when you start getting a little bit older, you kind of like take a little bit of a breather and step back and think to yourself, like, you know, all right, I'm 41 years old right now. Like, what do I want to be doing when I'm 51 years old?
Yeah.
When I was 21, I wasn't thinking about what I want to
50.
do when I'm
No way.
31. You
No.
know, like,
No way. You have been a crazy 20-year-old. This dude's weird.
Yeah.
Get away
And
from
even
him.
at 31, I wasn't really thinking about what I was going to be doing at 41. You know, it's
Right,
just
right.
kind of like, and I've kind of just been doing this for so long now. There wasn't really ever a thought of changing up what I was going to do.
Right.
Other than, I mean, of course, the whole story of when I had gotten the offer to go work in Texas right before the pandemic hit. And then the pandemic hit and all of that fell through. And
Yeah.
that
Man.
was
Dang, yeah.
definitely
Touch-
a wild
touch on that
time.
story.
Yeah,
real
touch
quick.
on that
Yeah,
a little
that's
bit because
a-
I know pandemic was crazy for the arts and entertainment, and you know what I mean. Like, what was that like for you?
It was extremely wild for me, for sure. I mean, I had been booking and managing and running Lost Lake, Larimer Lounge, and Globe Hall music venues pretty much from 2013 to 2020, so 7-8 years, and working up at Red Rocks doing artist merchandise sales for like 12 years. So those were pretty solid jobs that I had for a long time, and then I finally got, like, you know, as they say, my big break in the music industry, where a company came to me and they said, hey, if you move to Dallas, Texas, we'll double your income. We'll give you insurance, benefits. We'll kind of roll out the golden carpet for you. And I definitely wasn't sure about taking the job because Dallas, Texas was not a place I envisioned myself being or wanted to be.
Right.
But once I got down, they flew me down there and they showed me the city. And I got to kind of check the place out, and I really liked the venues, and I really liked my new coworkers that I was being introduced to. And I was pretty into it. And then I accepted the job. And then on March 9th let me back up just a little bit. In January of 2020, I went to my current employers and told them, hey, I'm leaving. I'm leaving Colorado. I'm moving to Texas. I got this new big job. And then I left at the very end of January, those jobs, and stayed here and took like 4 weeks off to go snowboarding and just kind of like live my last few weeks of Colorado life.
Yeah.
And then on March 9th of 2020, they flew me back down to Texas with the thought of, you're going to visit some properties, find a new place to live, sign a lease, and then you'll go home, pack all your stuff up, rent a U-Haul, and move back down. And so on March 9th, 2020, I flew down to Dallas, Texas. Again, got to kind of like see all the new music venues I was going to be working at, meet all my new coworkers. I think I visited 25 different properties in 3 days.
Wow.
I was putting in some work to find where I wanted to live. And I found this really cool, sweet apartment, high rise, right in the middle of downtown. And I was like, all right, this is the one. I went in on the last day I was in Texas and signed a lease on it. And then March 13th of 2020, I was flying back to Denver after I signed my lease. And that was the day the pandemic was like unfolding.
Shit.
And I pretty much flew home right before all of the flights got canceled. And then
Thank God you got home.
yeah, things were
Man,
definitely
for real.
very panicked. But my my new employers were telling me, don't worry, we're going to make it through this. In a few more months, you know, like we'll be all good. And then it was 5 days before my move, which was scheduled for like May 25th. So it was May 20th. They hit me up and they said, don't move. And at this point, it's like my apartment lease is over. My roommate moved out.
Right. I didn't quit my jobs.
I rented a U-Haul truck. I had my whole entire apartment packed up in boxes. Like I was ready to move across the country in 5 days. And they pumped the brakes on me, and you know they said let's wait this out. Let's give it a few more months and reschedule for July 1st. And so we rescheduled my move for July 1st, and then it was like I think it was like June 22nd was the date that they called me, and I got we have to furlough you, remove you from payroll, probably don't move down here. Let's give this another like 6 months and see where things are at. And then it just got delayed longer and longer, and you know of course just fell apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever talk to them again now that it's like
crazy.
long enough out?
Yeah, so it's actually one of the guys that had recruited me is the guy who books the Oriental Theater and
cool.
HQ here in Denver.
Dope.
And so I still do a lot of business with him and get to talk with him. And
Cool.
You know, it's like not
All love.
no hard. Yeah, all
Yeah,
love.
that's
No
dope.
hard feelings. For
Yeah,
you.
and it's
Especially
like, how
when-
could you?
It wasn't his fault. He didn't eat the bat or whatever they said after.
Yeah.
He wasn't eating bat poop.
And those venues did end up eventually shutting down. It was
All of
crazy
them?
because both of them, yeah, there was two of them,
Shit.
and one of them shut down pretty quickly. Then they kept going with the other one, and then they like almost had me moving down there because they were like, "Well, we still have this one, and we have this other one that we can book." And then things just like kept going. You know, the pandemic felt like it lasted for freaking ever.
Yeah, for real.
And so once it got to a certain point, it was like, all right, you're definitely not moving down here. And then it was like a whole nother year later, they just permanently shut down.
Fuck.
So
It's over.
it's like glad I didn't end up going.
Yeah.
What was that like for you mentally, man, doing all that? Because I know the pandemic took us, you know, it took a
it
toll on
was
all of us.
so-
Was like
so
to be up in
difficult.
limbo like that, like
One thing that I've never done in my life, I don't think that I can recall, was like break down and cry to my dad on the
Yeah.
phone.
Mhm.
And I definitely very vividly remember calling my dad in the thick of that and like breaking down and just crying and like hyperventilating to him. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what to do. Like, my industry is completely shut down. Our world is completely shut down. I have no money coming in.
Yeah.
I can't afford rent, bills. Like, I can't afford
to
anything.
live right.
Yeah, and I've signed up for so many different pandemic assistant this and that, and I was on the what's it called? Where they pay you money,
Unemployment.
unemployment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean that's why I don't even know the freaking word is because that was the first time I've ever been on unemployment for sure. And you know, I think like the main breakdown point to my dad was just like, what the fuck just happened, Dad? Like,
Yeah.
I was just slated to start making double the amount of money and have like all this stuff. Like, I just made that big leap in my career and like committed to it. And just like that, it all got pulled out from under me.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting here like scavenging to make $30,000 and trying to figure out how to buy groceries and pay bills and stuff.
Yeah. What'd your dad say, man? What was the piece of advice that he gave you? What word? Maybe not.
You know, just that in the end it was going to be okay, and you know, especially that like him and my mom would never let anything bad happen to me. Like, they weren't going to let me go homeless. They weren't going to let me starve. And
Yeah.
they weren't going to, you know, let that happen. And thank God they did help me out for a while, and they went like halvesies on my rent with me for a
For
bit,
sure.
and like that was all I could afford, and,
Yeah.
and I got by with that, and it definitely helped when they did.
Yeah.
And I kept working through the whole thing, just doing limited capacity shows. When you could have 50 people in a room, I was doing 50. When you could have 100, I was doing 100. When it went back to being totally shut down, we went to digital live streams and didn't make any money doing it at all. But we kept doing something. You know, we were still doing it.
Yeah, man.
And I feel like sticking with it is what kind of kept me in the industry now on the flip side of the pandemic. 'Cause
Yeah.
a lot of people, you know, they
Crumbled.
went off and found different things
Yeah.
and kind of realized like, music industry was like my part-time thing. I'm done with it. I'm going to go, you know.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people just found new avenues of income and said, I'm not going to work in the industry anymore. I'm going to go do this now.
Yeah. Man, that's amazing, man. It's
Yeah.
like what skill set do you feel like you've acquired after to have to go through all of that, right? Like now, I'm sure you're stronger, you're better, right? You're probably more knowledgeable, and it sounds like you're even thinking ahead of the game now of like, okay, what am I going to do at 50, right? How am I even positioning myself? So like, what would you say is the thing that you gained out of all that? I know you keep saying like, I kept working, we kept pushing through, but what do you feel like you actually gained as a skill that is going to be with you forever and whatever you go do next?
I mean, I'd say in the music industry, and especially working in live music and production, one of the skills is like rolling with the punches, because shit happens, and if you freak out, it's not a good way to handle it. You gotta just handle it in a way better way than that.
Stay calm.
And I think this was like a very dramatic version of that.
Yeah.
This is like the band that comes in and freaks out on you because there's nobody there and they need their money, or there's nothing in the green room for them, or like whatever it is. Like, this is like that, but rolling with a much more dramatic version of it, of like the whole industry is shut down and punching you in the gut right now.
So now those punches don't even feel like that. You're like, bro, whatever. Yeah, we don't have your green jelly beans. You live. I did. I had nothing in my fridge. Yeah.
Truly.
Just learning to roll with the punches, like there was, like I said, with the pandemic, there was moments where it was like you could only have 50 people in the room. And so you were adjusting all of your shows and doing all these things to accommodate 50 people. And then all of a sudden, 6 weeks later, you can have 100 people in the room. And now you're like booking more and readjusting more things. And then they went back down to 50, and then you had to scale things back down. And then they completely closed again. You had to take live shows and tell them, sorry, these aren't shows anymore. It was just so much going on. It was wild time.
Did anything from that time carry on to now that we're back to normal? Like our live stream shows, do people like that?
I don't really think so.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a really big band, people might enjoy watching it, but for the most part, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Totally
listen to the
different
album.
experience.
Didn't see that carry on for sure.
Are there any?
I mean, at least for the world of venues that I'm operating in now, maybe it's just I'm operating in different rooms post-pandemic than pre-pandemic. But one thing that I like as I'm getting older is that all the shows seem to end earlier, and everything seems to end earlier.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, pre-pandemic, most of my shows would go till 12:30 or 1 in the morning, and then you were pushing till that 2 a.m. to get that last bit of bar sales, and then you're shutting down at 2 a.m. and you're there till 3:30, closing the place down. You're home at 4 a.m. and it's just a brutally late night. Now these days, I'd say 90% of my shows are done before midnight. And we're walking out the doors of the venue by 12:30 a.m.
Oh, man.
Like I'm home and
That
cozy
rules.
by 1 a.m. Yeah,
What a great
Nice.
night, huh?
yeah.
Why is that?
Right? I mean, I think it's a lot of different things. I think for one, people aren't drinking as much, so there's not as
cool.
much of like that final bar push and maximize the bar sales till 2 a.m. And I think people just got a little bit more comfortable with their home lives.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think people want to as much be out till 2 in the morning and getting hammered.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, or maybe I'm just getting older and it's the youth that still do that. But from what I hear and a lot of what I see, even the youth isn't really like that anymore. I mean, I live in downtown, so I definitely see a lot of the youth still out partying and drinking in the nightclubs.
Right.
But I don't think it's like it used to be in the 2000s.
For sure. That's all we had to do. That was like a badge of honor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Now
I
you
was
just
like,
catch them on Twitch.
Yeah. That's right. I think everybody got comfortable with just being at home. Just that basic kind of stuff, right? So
Right.
I can see that.
That's wild.
I definitely go ahead, my bad.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just about to tell a funny story. I remember, just side note, Tony was the first person to ever give me my first headline. So shout out to
Tony
here in
Mason.
Denver. And that was a
He made
great
welcome
show.
to the Duff Game too. He's a great guy.
Yeah, book with Tony, y'all. He's the guy. But I remember the night when I met you and me and Pape came to your apartment, and I know you like living high up in the sky, right?
Yeah.
And you were scouting like the next people you were gonna book, and it was like some crazy ass videos, right? Like some acid trip and stuff. You're like, yeah, this rock band is pretty dope. And it was up in there taking bong rips and stuff like that, right? And I got an issue with heights, bro. Like, and we were so high up in your apartment, I just never forget, like, trying to be tough and hit the bong a couple times more. And Pape was like, nah, I'm good. I'm like, you a weenie. Give it to me. And I hit that shit, bro, and I was like, oh, I should have stopped. And I just never forget looking out your window like, why are we so high up? I got a photo you took of me looking out that window. Hella paranoid. But that's not where it got bad for me, right? So then we about to leave to go check out the venue. You like got somebody in there. Let's go pop in on them, right? And we get, I'm claustrophobic too. We get to your elevator and you like, yeah, man, the elevators have been messing up a lot
Yeah.
lately. I'm like, man, this is not what I need here. I'm high as hell. I'm high, and you telling me I might get stuck up here? Oh man, that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was probably the worst elevator ride in my life. I was
Yeah.
just thinking like, man, I could probably take the stairs and meet them down there later. But I'm like, we 50 stories up. I'm like, I ain't built for that either. I don't want to do that. I just want to have a simple night. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
that was crazy. That
That's
was
so
crazy.
funny.
That was crazy, bro.
Absurd.
Love it.
Yes.
Oh man, I love that you just said that I started Welcome to the Dope Gang.
Yeah, because we got to meet. I met Turner at the thing that we did at Rockstar Lounge.
And all those guys. I mean, I think that was Dozen.
Yep.
It was like the first time Dozen had met any of you guys, and the first time Turner met it. Like it was.
Yeah,
this
Marcus
combination
Aurelius.
of all these people that like
Yeah.
I individually knew and brought them all into that space.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's funny because I think when I see random people like, yeah, welcome to the Dope Game, and I'm like, yeah, dude, like, believe it or not, I helped originate that. And
Yeah.
like, I don't think people believe me at all. Like, I don't think I do
I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. Yeah.
Yep. But I feel like it's a story, that I absolutely love. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
Like I was the one that kind of brought all these people together into this space, and it was like the very first formation of Welcome to the Dope Game.
Yeah.
Even though like you guys kind of did your own thing and branched off, I did my own thing and went with the venues.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget that night of just doing that show and bringing everyone together, and the amount of work that we all put into that, and the amount of like just natural love that went into it, with
Totally.
all of us coming in independently, not knowing each other.
Yeah.
And then kind of seeing after that night, everybody like still clicking and doing other shows together. And
Yeah.
that was such a wild night.
It just seems like the
Truly.
theme around you, Tony, is everything's organic, right? It's
Yeah.
like I think about what you just shared about your journey from being an artist to then transitioning to what you do now, and all that kind of just happened, right? And then cultivating something like Welcome to the Dope Game or being a part of that. It just seems like you're just an organic dude, man. It just seems like, I mean, your energy has always been very like laid back, chill, cool, and it just, I think the things that have happened that you shared is just an testament to really who you are, your character, right? Like of just rolling with the punches, just going with the flow. And I think that's something that people need to understand while on their journey of just like, you kind of just got to roll with it, man.
Right.
Like figure out what it is that you want to do and then just start doing those things, and you just keep doing them, and you're going to land somewhere in the vicinity of what you love if you just stay consistent and
Absolutely.
just roll, man. So
Yeah.
I think that's dope, man. I think that's super dope.
Yeah, thanks.
Did your folks instill that in you, or where did you get your laid back demeanor?
My dad and my dad's dad were pretty laid back people for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, they're both pretty. My dad is also like, he's big businessman, but he's very laid back. And so I think I kind of get that personality from them for sure.
And growing up in the mountains.
And growing up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Yep,
What's that
definitely.
like? What's that like growing up in the mountains and now
You know-
you are official city slicker?
boy,
Like high rise,
Dude, it's
Yeah.
highest building.
seriously
Yeah.
funny
On his
to
lime
think
scooter
of-
with his man
You know what I'm
bag.
saying? He takes his dog to walk on top of the roof. There's a roof
Yes.
park.
It's so funny to think about because, the first 20 years of my life, I was mountain boy. And then the last 20 years of my life, I've been full on city boy for
Man.
sure. And it's like two very different sides of me.
Yeah.
I guess it's just kind of who I am now. And growing up in the mountains was amazing. It was awesome. It was wild. Like, it's amazing and it's awesome because it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
It's small town, small community. Everyone knows everyone. I've always just been a very open, social, friendly person. So I've kind of always been the guy that everyone knows, and I'm friendly with everyone. And so growing up in a place like that it was truly a magical place to grow up. But I mean, it was also very wild. Like, it was a small town. There wasn't a lot to do.
Yeah.
Most of us skateboarded, snowboarded, rode dirt bikes, four-wheelers, horses, climbed mountains,
Seems like a lot
mountain
to do.
bikes, rafting.
Yeah, that's a
Other
lot,
than that,
that's tons to do.
a lot of extreme sports, and a lot of drug use and drinking
Yeah.
up there because there's
What
not
else
a
are you
lot-
gonna do?
Especially in the wintertime. I mean, October through March, it's dark out by 5 p.m. and it's 0 degrees, and it's
Right.
that's for 8 months of the entire
Oh,
years like
man.
that. And so I definitely found growing up there, like, it was all based around partying. And I think it also has to do with the time that I grew up, from like 97 to 2002 was when I was like 14 to 20, right around there.
Yeah.
And that was a huge time of like extreme sports. And so everything was just like go hard, You know, everything was
Yeah.
X Games,
Excited.
X Games, backflips, like everything's got to be crazy.
Yeah.
Beer
You didn't break your arm,
yeah,
you were-
Kingston.
you didn't do it, bro.
Jackass, Jackass
Yeah.
was on MTV.
Oh,
It was
yeah, I
all
remember
about like
Jackass.
doing goofy shit and capturing on video camera, and I mean,
Totally.
yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like I just kind of grew up in a time where it was just like extreme sports and punk rock, and everything was very aggressive.
Yeah.
I've broken over 20 bones in my body. Just between all the different sports and
Yeah, man.
things.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it's so now like the city version of me it just feels a bit different, you know. Like
Yeah.
I'm not as wild. I'm older, so I'm more reserved. I'm a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah, man.
I'm a little bit more well rounded. I'm not just like punk rocking, skateboarding, snowboarding. Like now I'm a little bit of everything.
You're like, oh wait, there's a crack in that road. Don't wanna you step way
Yeah.
over that.
Let me turn down my Lana Del Rey so I can focus.
Yeah, exactly. That's wild, man. I mean, speaking of broken bones, man, didn't you just undergo like some health issues or like had something going on?
Dude, that was so whack. So October of 2023 or November. Yeah, it was like November 2023. I got COVID for the first time finally.
Yeah.
And like 7 days into having it, this big lump just appears on my left knee. And I definitely, was like, man, what is that? That's crazy. And everyone said like, oh, wait a few weeks after getting COVID, it'll probably go away. So I waited a few weeks, never went away. And then it was like still there, but it wasn't bugging me really bad. So I just didn't really do anything with it for a few more weeks. And then it was like Christmas time, and it was starting to get pretty bulgy and bad. It still wasn't like super painful.
Right.
And then it was like shortly into the new year of 2024, it was like, okay, this thing is not going away. It's getting bigger. It's starting to hurt. Like, let's go get this checked out.
Yeah.
And then I went and had it checked out. Turns out it was a totally random tumor that grew in my knee.
Whoa.
I call it the mutant tumor.
Yeah.
The mutant tumor. And so, yeah, thank God it was non-cancerous. And I had surgery within like a couple weeks of them finding it, and they pulled it out of there. And
Man.
yeah, it was definitely a little jarring though to like turn 40, get sick, have surgery. It was just like all this shit
Yeah.
like right. I was like, oh, is this what getting old is?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Tim, like take me back to the mountains.
Yo, for real.
Take me back to Jackass. Yeah, man. I heard you say thank God, man. Are you a man of faith?
Honestly, no.
Yeah.
Yep, no.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm a spiritual person, and
Yeah.
I will still say things about God, even though maybe my God looks or feels a little bit differently. But
Yeah.
like I've definitely noticed anytime I'm like around a homeless person downtown or giving them money or having conversation with them as we part ways, they're usually like, God bless you or have a blessed day or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like instilled into me to say it to them as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
granted, like I'm not a man of faith or God, I will still say God bless you in the right occasion, if it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the right thing.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing like with police. I grew up in a small town, and I was just always raised for any kind of authority. It's yes, sir, no, sir, look them stern in the eyes.
Yep.
And I've actually several times been pulled over by the cops for speeding. And just because of my interaction response, they've asked me if I was ever military or an officer. Or
Without a
anything,
doubt.
Because I'm just immediately yes, sir, no, sir, looking them in the eye. And
Yeah. No. I feel that because I was raised the same way, right? Never went to the military, but we were raised to have a certain level of respect, right? And so I've been asked that many a times by authority of just like, were you ever in the military? And I'm just like, no, sir. You know what I'm saying? But that's how I was taught to address people. Being from the South, it's like, that's just what you do. It ain't no, yeah, what? It ain't none of that. But when I hear you say like, you're God, right? I do believe that everybody's relationship is personal, whatever that is, whatever your walk is in life, whatever you believe in or don't believe, I think it's a personal agenda anyway. So I don't think it's a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing that we all are on this journey, and you know what I mean? Like no different than aging. Just like things get different as you age. You start thinking different about stuff. You start feeling different about things. So I just think it's all just one journey for each individual. So I just want to ask that, man.
no, absolutely.
my one off.
When speaking of aging, this is one thing I was gonna ask you because it's something that's top of my mind because I'm getting old too now.
Are you?
Yeah, bro.
You're not looking as gray as me.
Pape, keep that thing low on purpose.
Yo, what is one thing that you quite enjoy about getting into your 40s in comparison to your 20s? And what's one thing that you're like, this is for the birds?
Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, things I definitely enjoy is just being older. I feel more confident. I feel more secure. I feel way more of like, I am who I am, and this is what you get. Not as much of like, I'm still building up these personality traits of me and trying to figure out who I am and what I like.
Yeah, no, that
which also makes you like a little insecure. Yeah, it's like that's all done and over with. It's like at 41, it's like I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. Partially, I don't have a problem like coming and doing a podcast or something like this because it's like I'm to a point where it's like I can talk about anything, like in my life or work world. Like, sure, let's chop it up. Like,
totally, yeah.
Okay, for the birds, just the energy levels are down. I'm putting on a little. I mean, I've never been skinny and fit. And I've always been a little overweight. I'm feeling it more now.
Yeah. You said I can feel it.
I don't know. I feel like it's harder to strap on the snowboard bindings.
Yeah.
And
for sure that.
Okay, so I quit drinking, but now
how long has it been?
5 years ago.
Oh, dang!
Yeah,
whoa!
like
congratulations!
And like not completely. Like I'll have some sake with some sushi or like a pina colada or a margarita in Mexico or like. The right place and time, I definitely will.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I don't drink. It's like hardly ever drink. A few times a year. But now it's like I go to bed if I go to bed at 2 or 3 in the morning, I wake up and I feel hungover. And it's like even if I didn't do anything,
100%,
just from going to bed at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Now like I strive for like my 11 to 7 or 12 to 7 sleep schedule. Like give me my 7 to 8 hours. And let me get to bed by like 11 or 12. And let me wake up at like 7. And I don't know, now like if I sleep from like 2 to 9, I wake up and I like have a headache and I just like don't feel that great. And it's like, I didn't even drink.
Should have done some blow. At least make it worth it.
Don't hang out with this guy. And there you have it, folks. Agent with Pape. His fountain of youth.
If you have to stay up, do drugs. Because you're going to feel bad anyways.
Admittedly, it's partially on me too, though. I'm just, I need to exercise more and eat healthier and stretch more and do all
You do get more like conscious the older you get. You know what I mean? As I'm getting up there, I'm just like, you start to, it's like the game slows down to you. You're like, I ain't got to, it ain't about speed no more, baby. It's about proficiency. Like, how proficient can I be at this? And like, I know for me, as of recently, like, I just been very keen on like, what I'm doing and then how it makes me feel after the fact, right? So like my relationship with liquor is very strange. It's just like, I enjoy it in the moment. I enjoy the social aspect of it, have a couple, you know what I'm saying? But it's always when I got to get up the next day. So it's like, no, I don't like that. And for that reason, it's like, I'll cut back. It's like, oh no, I'm not going to have 2 if we go out. I'm going to have 1 because I know that's my limit. And so I think we're getting older. There's a certain level of like, confidence that you do have of just trusting yourself of like, no, I know what makes me feel good.
Right.
And I'm going to do that everywhere. Because the way my shit is set up, I can't just be doing whatever no more.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, even little things like if I eat a big meal shortly before I go to bed, I feel that shit now. I wake up and my body feels tight and tense. Like it's just been processing all night while I've been sleeping.
You didn't sleep.
Yeah, right. It was like I need to eat a few hours before I go to bed, so that way I can like sleep well and not wake up feeling all like, oh.
Yeah.
I think that's the part. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, damn, I just was trying to take care of you, buddy. Like, nah, you better eat at 5:30 and be done.
Or don't
You
bother.
know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's probably, with aging, that's probably been the worst part of just like the food stuff, because I love certain things. Like, in red sauce, I just cannot eat spaghetti no more, man, because it just inflames me. Like I never knew what heartburn would feel like. Like I see Tums commercials, people like, I got heartburn indigestion. I'm like, what is that, man? I'm scarfing down some pizza, like indigestion, chasing it with orange juice. Like, and now it's like orange juice, the devil. No, I'll pass. Cannot do it. I can have a couple slices of pizza if it's not too much red sauce. Can only eat spaghetti once a month type of deal.
Acidity.
Yeah, man. I'm like, what happened? Dang. I went and played basketball with some guys, man, like 3 years ago. And this one I had to hang it up. Like, I go out there, they was like, man, you want to come hoop? One of my wife's friends was dating this dude. He was a lot younger. And he must have thought I was the same age as him. He was like in his mid-20s. At this point, I'm like, mid-30, right? And I go play basketball with him and all his homies. We run up and down the court. We killing it, right? And they was like, yo, you coming back tomorrow? And I was like, nah, man, I'm not. And they was like, man, why not? I said, bro, I'm 35. It's like, what, for real? Yo, I tell y'all, when I got home and I took my shoes off, I could not feel my feet. Like, I laid on the floor for like hours. My dad was at the house. He came, he was like, man, you good? I said, yeah, man, just leave me here, man. What is life? And after that, it was like, I'm done. So it was like, that part sucks. It was like, some things you got to give up. Like, I'm sure you wouldn't be out kick flipping no more. Like, it's probably over.
Skateboarding is one of the things that I've mostly given up on. Maybe I'll try to cruise around a little bit this summer, but the last few years, I even just gave up on cruising. I took a nasty crash a few years ago that then resulted in a bunch of other medical issues.
Oh, my God. Not worth it.
Yeah.
This used to be fun.
Yeah.
I'd get a scab and I'd pick it and
Yeah.
back
You
at
like
it.
slide out and you're like, well, that's going to hurt for a year.
It may not ever stop hurting at this point.
True.
You might be stuck with that pain.
Yeah.
Doc's like, yeah, there's nothing we can do with that.
Yeah.
How old are you? Yeah, you're going to have to live with
You're
that.
just old now.
Yeah. What do you like, Tylenol or ibuprofen?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yo, for real.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, so end story. Fuck getting older.
Yep.
Yeah.
Enjoy your youth.
Enjoy your youth.
Right.
To you youthful suckers out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Treat your body well.
What do you think, Pape? Is this a good moment for our question?
Yeah.
I'll let you lay it on them.
All right, let me get ready for this.
This is our formal exciting question.
All right, one formal question.
What was your welcome to it moment into your industry? What was the defining crux for you when
Like,
you
I'm
were just
here.
like, yeah, baby?
At first I thought I had an immediate answer because I do have like the defined moment that kind of got me into the industry.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you feel like that was where the trajectory was?
Like that really made you like, okay, I'm about to hit the gas because this is calling me.
Well, so the most immediate answer I think is that when I was in college, I was a senior in college and I was working several different jobs and I was a full-time student in school. And one of my professors came to me and he said, you need to go get an internship and go like work for free. And I'm like, how am I going to do that? Like,
already working.
I work at Red Rocks doing merchandise sales. I manage a snowboard shop. I was doing some like part-time construction work at the time as well for the family business. And then I was also a full-time student in school. And I had, real bills and I needed real money. And it was just like the thought of going and working for free. At this point, I'm like 25 years old and about to graduate college. And I'm just like, what? Like, no way that I want to go work for free and do an internship. But he told me, he was like, I promise you, if you go do an internship, this is going to really get you into the music industry. And it definitely, I resisted against it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to work for free. I didn't want to go work an internship. I'd already been working at Red Rocks Amphitheater doing artist merchandise sales. And I just felt like I could kind of maybe skip the internship thing. But after some thinking about it and him really hoaxing me into it, I did it. And I said, okay, I'm going to go get an internship. And so that's when I landed over at Larimer Lounge. And this is like 2009 or 8, right around there. I was junior or senior in college. And I went and got an internship there. And little did I know that internship was literally going to like project me into the rest of my career. Because at that internship, it started off at like working publicity, and then I was helping out with marketing, and then I was booking some shows, and then it just kind of turned into this multifaceted job, working door, managing contracts, doing all these different things. And then the internship ended and I stopped working there. And then I went on to Herman's Hideaway when I graduated college in 2010. And I worked there, and that was my first full-time job in the industry where it was like, all right, I'm working one place 40 hours a week at this one spot.
Yeah.
And that was like the moment that was like, okay, now I am in the industry. But I'll never forget that internship that I got at Larimer Lounge because that literally was like the foundation of the rest of my career.
Fuck yeah.
And I really didn't want to do it, and I'll just never forget kind of resisting that and then doing it. And then years and years later, looking back and being like, damn, like that literally was like what got me into the industry. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, you heard it, kids. You got to go do stuff you don't want to do what you want to do.
Yo,
And you might have to do it for free.
you're going to have to do it for free. For
Oh,
real.
you're gonna. Yeah.
I feel like everyone that I know
Yeah.
that's successful in some regard or another has done free
Started
work.
for free.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I even just hired a new marketer like 4 months ago, and the first 4 weeks or so, the first month or so, she worked for free, and she just came in and learned the ropes and
Yeah.
worked for free, and then we decided we liked her and we started paying her.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it does show your level of dedication to what it is that you want to. You know what I mean? To go do
Totally.
something for free, especially in your space of just like, man, I'm already doing this. I'm
Right.
working at all these places and I'm in here.
Right.
And then to go do the free stuff and then get all those other skill sets or, you know what I mean, to sharpen up on them and then land where you was like, yeah, now I'm making the money and now I'm going.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's not really, I mean, you're not getting paid money, but you're getting
Something.
a shit ton of other
Experience.
things.
Right? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Especially when you're young and hungry like that and just want
Totally.
to get in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're
Love
young
it.
and you got the time, and you're like, what else am I going to be doing?
Hey, that's it. Welcome to it. The podcast. Tony Mason, Jeremy Pape.
Die.
Buddy.
Great. That was phenomenal.
What up, though?